My name is Terry Malone. I am the director of the Undergraduate Admissions Office. I will be here hosting Betsy Huang, Jen Plant, and Sherilyn Bonin as they talk to you about the College Navigator, which is the Clark Navigator, which is an important part of your first year experience at Clark. For a little bit of housekeeping, for those of you that have logged into previous webinars, you know that we'll be using the question and answer feature for the majority of the questions that you want to submit. We'll save the questions for the end, but you can type in questions throughout the presentation and we will field those to the panelists after the presentation. If you do have any technical difficulty, you can use the chat feature to let us know. My colleague in the admissions office, Natasha, is behind the scenes and she'll try to assist with any technology issues. But now I'm going to hand it over to Betsy.
Hi, everyone. It's really great to be here with you. This is Betsy Huang, Dean of the College, with my two really wonderful colleagues, Assistant Dean Jen Plant, who's here with all of us, and also Director of Academic Support, Sherilyn Bonin. I'm here to talk with you about this Clark Navigator program that we have for you and your students. And the Clark Navigator is a new program that we're going to be kicking off come fall. And here's to hoping for the best possible fall start that we could hope for. Let's see where COVID takes us. And on that note too, let me just wish all of you that you're healthy and that you're safe and that your families are doing well and all of your loved ones as well. And we're really glad that you are able to join us today. So as all of us know, many colleges and universities have first year experience programs. And you also often hear that the sense of belonging is very important, and that students should feel a strong sense of belonging in order to do their best work and live their best life at college. And that the first year, of course, is a very crucial time to get that sense of belonging. We agree with that too. But we think it's less about you having to figure out whether you belong. It's less about whether you belong to Clark. It's more about us showing you that Clark belongs to you. That's the aim of our program. By Clark belonging to you, we mean that all of our academic, social, and residential facilities, the classrooms, the residence halls, the student centers, the athletic facilities, the library, the labs, the theater, all of it is for you. These are going to be your home away from home. You should feel as comfortable walking into any of these spaces as you would when you walk into familiar spaces in your home. The familiarity, the comfort, the authority to inhabit all of these spaces, that's what sets up the conditions for doing good work and living well. Now, we all know that it's not great to feel lost. We don't like it when we don't know where to go for that class or film festival. We don't know who to ask for resources or support. We don't like it when we don't know how to do something that looks really easy to everybody else, like submitting an assignment on a course management system, or use your meal plan at the bistro, or just take a bus around Worcester. Everyone else does it easily. You're looking like a first year. You have the first year student painted across your forehead because you don't yet know how to do these things. So feeling and looking lost leads to a sense of alienation and isolation, which certainly does not set you up for academic success or social success. So that's what the Navigator program is for. It's to put you in spaces around campus that will become your second homes, and also, and this is really important, to encourage you to venture into places where you otherwise would not venture on your own, to let you know that those spaces are yours also. So on that note, let's dig in a little bit to see what is in the Navigator program. You all know us already. Okay, so our first year experience program is called the Clark Navigator, and it is also a course that all incoming first year students will register for. The course's title is Navigator 100, and it is designed expressly to help you and your new friends transition to Clark. It's academic and student life in particular. In the Navigator 100 course, what you'll be doing is that you will build and sustain friendships in your Navigator group, and each Navigator group will consist of somewhere around 15 students, give or take a few. Your Navigator group cohort will be formed during orientation. So you'll be hanging out with this same group of new friends starting at orientation and then moving all the way through the first semester in the Navigator program. Now, the class itself meets once a week, usually in the evenings, so that this time does not conflict with any of the courses scheduled throughout the day. You meet once a week with your Navigator group to share the experiences that you've had on campus and learn about campus resources. Each group will be led by a dedicated peer mentor, and the peer mentor is an upper class student who is already very familiar with the campus, have lots of information and experiences to share, and will essentially be your guide to lead you through your entire first semester and beyond. As part of the course, in addition to the weekly Navigator hours, you'll choose from a menu of academic, co-curricular, community, and social activities as part of the course completion. So every month, and you can imagine this program as a 3-month program, September, October, November, and each month there'll be a full menu of different types of activities for you to choose from. And you can choose anywhere between 3 to 5 activities, adding up to a certain number of hours toward earning the requisite hours to complete this course. Okay. And once you've done enough and also talked enough and hung out enough with your Navigator group, you'll earn academic credit towards your Clark degree. So we can just share with you a sample menu of some of the activities that you'll see on the program. You'll go to something like the first year speed meet, which is a new thing that we're going to kick off in the fall. Sort of like speed dating, but we're gonna just have a lot of the first years circulate through a kind of speed meet scenario. Others are attend a campus lecture or event, chat up a professor at their office hour, going to a professor's office hours. This is something that our faculty members are constantly lamenting. Nobody comes to our office hours anymore. Why aren't they coming to see us and chatting with us about the class? Why aren't they coming to ask us any question under the sun? Professors love that. And yeah, this program certainly will urge you to go and meet the professors outside of the classroom. Go to a Clark Cougars game, join a student club, sit in on a student governance meeting. We have a very, very strong student governance system. We'd love all of our students to participate in student government and leadership. And this certainly will be one activity that we would encourage students to attend, even as a first year. Go to lots and lots of different types of fair on campus: involvement fair, majors fair, career fair, community engagement fair, you name it. Other types of activities are around Worcester, more social and community oriented. There'll be something called a space race, and this is essentially NAV groups competing in a competition that we are creating for each group to accumulate as many strange and weird and off the radar types of spaces they can find on campus with one another, and there'll be a prize at the end, a variation on a scavenger hunt. And maybe helping us find all those weird nooks and crannies around campus that most of us don't know anything about. Check out a Worcester Film Festival, hike Worcester's green spaces and tour the local parks, visit our museums, volunteer at local nonprofits, see shows at some local famous venues, the Hanover Theater and Mechanics Hall. And there's the Canal District and lots of other really great areas in Worcester to explore. And then there's, of course, this little nearby town called Boston that somebody might want to check out. I don't know. So that's it in a nutshell. My colleagues Sherilyn and Jen would be happy to answer any questions you have. No questions too small, no questions too broad. So we hope that that gives you a very clear sense of what the Navigator is about. We hope that it excites you, and ask away with any questions you may have.
Thank you, Betsy. We do have a couple questions that have already been chatted in. Just a reminder, we're using the Q&A feature, so you can chat in any questions you have, and we will go ahead and answer those. So the first question is about how are groups selected? Are they going to be based on academic interest, express interest in extracurricular activities, gender? What kind of criteria is being used to match Navigator groups?
I'll field this. So as Betsy mentioned, the Navigator groups are going to be the groups that the folks that your student is with in their orientation groups, and those largely are fairly random. And the hope is that within these groups, students will start to build friendships at orientation that then will be carried throughout the fall semester, because again, these will continue to be their Navigator groups, but it's largely a random sort of grouping of students.
Thank you, Jen. So Betsy, I know that this question is something that you've been tackling very broadly over the past couple of weeks, but how will Navigator be impacted by any kind of COVID adjustments to calendars, schedules, the fall? I don't know if it's premature to even ask that question, but that is the question.
And that is a very fair question. And if I were a parent or a student, I would ask that also. The Navigator program, ideally, precisely because it is so site-specific, it is all about seeing, feeling, being in, inhabiting all of these physical spaces, that in the event that we cannot have an in-person fall start to the semester, we would defer the program until students are able to return to campus. In other words, this is not something that we would want to deliver in any kind of online modality. It just doesn't lend itself to that, and it would defeat much of the purpose of the program. So whenever we are able to open the campus for that return, that's when we will launch the Navigator program.
Excellent. So next question is about, you said that these are going to be in the evening. How will group meetings be scheduled to avoid athletic practices, games, other clubs and social activities that students join up with?
I'll take that one as well. That's a great question. We will have some options for students to select their Navigator meetings in the mornings to avoid things like athletic practices. Students will sign up for their Navigator course, and it will be on their schedule, so that really students will be aware that they have these specific meeting times every week with their Navigator groups, and they should try to schedule student meetings around it, or know when they can't attend certain student meetings. But there are definitely enough options for choosing the Navigator meeting times that students largely should be, everyone's schedule should be accommodated.
Thank you, Jen. How long has Clark been doing the NAV oh, Betsy, do you want to jump in on that last question?
Yeah, let me
Okay.
just piggyback on Jen's great answer, and that is that in addition to morning hours and some, let's say, late Friday hours, maybe not very popular for all students, but certainly will be useful for a subset of students who have other scheduling conflicts. Like any other course, there will be a period at the beginning of the semester where there'll be some shuffling, where students will discover that a particular Navigator hour that they register for ultimately won't work for them, and then they can certainly switch. So there's always the opportunity to do that.
Excellent. This is a question about kind of when did Clark start the Navigator, and why did we bring it into being?
I'm happy to jump in on that, Betsy, if you'd like, or if you prefer to start.
No, go ahead, Sherilyn.
Okay. So I'm volunteering for that because I was deeply involved in that process when Clark Navigator first came to be. In one form or another, Clark Navigator is entering its 3rd year of existence. The peer mentor component, making sure small cohorts of students are connected with an upper class mentor, has been consistent throughout the past 2 years, and will be, the same again this coming year. And much of the activities were similar also in previous years. Something that's different though is how students earn credit for it now. So we're really excited that this upcoming year the program will really stand alone, whereas previously it was kind of embedded into some other things. And so now it'll be nice to just have this one opportunity to focus solely on the Clark Navigator and the experiences that go along with it. So we're in our 3rd run of it, and really excited about how it's grown over the past 2 years.
Excellent. So this question is about, we had sample lists of things, and this person's familiar with Worcester and is naming a couple of places. Are there other opportunities besides the ones that you listed on the slides today? Yes.
Very much so.
Okay.
Yes, those are samples, but the menu that Betsy and Jen and others are putting together for the upcoming semester is just, practically endless. There's so many great things to get involved in.
Excellent.
Both on campus and off.
Right.
We didn't list, Worcester has some minor league athletic teams. Go to one of those events. That the hockey games, the Worcester Railer hockey games are $10 a ticket, super fun. So absolutely, those kinds of things could be an option.
Excellent. Is there a residential component to the Navigator? Will students be living in residence halls together with their Navigator group, or how does that work?
I'll take that one. No. The Navigator groups, by default, there may be some students living with other students in the same dorm building who are in their Navigator groups, but there are no dedicated living learning community Navigator spaces on campus for.
Excellent. And that being said, first-year students do live in first-year residence halls. So while you won't be living specifically with your Navigator group, you will most likely be living with other first-year students. The majority of our students are in the first-year class will live in one of our first-year residence halls. There's a few exceptions to that, so you won't live with your Navigator group, but you will live with other first-year students. Are transfer students able to do the Navigator?
Should I take that, or do one of you, or Jen, are you having trouble hearing, or were you?
Yeah, I missed the question.
Are transfer students able to join the Navigator?
No. Betsy might have a more articulate answer to this question, but in short, no, we don't really have the capacity for that.
Well, I can offer this level of detail. If If you are a transfer student, but when you come in and the credits that you bring in still technically put you in a first-year student status, then there could be a way for you to participate. Although when you transfer in, generally you'd be transferring in the spring, and the Navigator is typically a fall program. This might mean that if you'd like to participate in the Navigator program, you would do it next fall, when you are in that kind of weird space between your the fact that you're not a true first year. You'd almost be in your sophomore year. But I don't see any reason why, if you would love to participate in the program, that you couldn't.
Excellent, thank you. How many academic credits are awarded through the Navigator program?
A quarter unit of credit for the Navigator program.
Excellent. Will the curriculum be different for each Navigator group, or is there a consistent program that all students are doing?
That's a great question also. There's a consistent program that students are going to be doing. That said, we are going to allow for a little bit of wiggle room in the event that a peer mentor is meeting with the Navigator group and senses there's a high level of stress within many members in the group. What we are going to do is obviously allow that peer mentor to facilitate a dialogue about what's going on, help students de-stress. So we want to offer consistency within the program, but keeping in mind that this is all in an effort to really help students transition to academic and social life at Clark. And oftentimes those peer mentors will know what would help students best in the moment. So consistency with some wiggle room to address any pressing needs. Excellent.
So this question isn't exactly on topic, so if you want me to answer it, I will. But do the residence halls also have programming available to first-year students? Do you want to address that, any of you, or?
Terry, I'm sorry, I missed part of the question.
Oh, the question is actually about programming within the residence halls. So not exactly your wheelhouse. Do you want me to take that one?
I'm happy to jump in on that,
Okay.
Terry.
Go ahead.
So short answer is yes, like in all caps, yes. The resident assistants, who are another form of peer leaders who live and work in the residence halls, do a lot of programming every single month. And I know the hall directors, who are professional live-in staff members, also do programming. A lot of that is like social fun things, and then they also do some more like educational and collaborating with supports on campus. So I know I'm chiming in on this question because I'm somebody they reach out to a lot to say, hey, can you come in and do a workshop on time management or something like that. So they definitely do a lot of programming in the halls throughout the entire academic year.
Excellent, thank you. Can you talk a little bit about what type of students are going to be selected as peer mentors?
Yeah, I can do that. So we worked closely with student leadership and programming because, again, these Navigator mentors, these peer mentors, are going to be working with students right, over beginning in the summer and starting at orientation. So student leadership worked closely with us, and or I should say we worked closely with them. They have a very streamlined process for selecting mentors. Students applied to be mentors. We had upward of 120 maybe. Does anybody remember the exact number? We had a lot of students, and we were selecting about 45. So it was a really competitive process. And we look for students who are leaders on campus, and quiet leaders too. They don't have to hold all these prestigious positions on campus. They had a paper application process. They did some group work with other applicants, and we were looking at the group dynamics and how they facilitated getting tasks done and conversations. And then we have one-on-one interviews with these students, and used a rubric to sort of grade them on how they were doing it. So it was a really competitive process, and I'm really excited about our mentors. We have an excellent group of students. The entire large pool was just outstanding, and it was really difficult to make these decisions, but I'm very excited in the mentors that we've chosen. They're outstanding.
Excellent. The couple that I know that have been selected are outstanding.
And I'll just add to what Jen just said. Not only are we super excited about the peer mentors, they are so excited about you all. Like, they're so excited about this role and, you know, getting to be this sort of like mentor and helper and friend to all of you who are incoming first year students. I know I work with a couple who work as tutors in my office who are also going to be peer mentors, and they all came like running into my office when they found out they were hired, and they're just over the moon about it. So I think sometimes it's nice to know that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sherilyn. Does the academic aspect of the Navigator program at all link to the program of liberal studies?
Well, I'll take that. First, Terry, if I may, I just want to add one more piece to the peer mentors. Now, if I may.
Yeah.
We also are very, very proud that this would become a program where the current or new first years will look to the peer mentorships down the road as a really sweet and ideal student employment opportunity. But not just for student employment, but training to become a leader, or you know, we're going to be training the peer mentors through a train the trainers model. There's a degree of professionalization involved in this, so that the peer mentors, when they are being trained, will learn all sorts of things, from moderating difficult dialogues around challenging topics, to working with students one-on-one versus working with students on a group-by-group basis, you know, how to be a resource, how to be an advocate, all of that stuff. And it adds, I think, very significantly to a student's portfolio. So the incoming first-year students will certainly be relying on their peer mentors, but also learn that, you know, in a year or two, the peer mentorship is open to them, for them to pursue. And it's a great opportunity.
Excellent.
Okay. So now on to the program of liberal studies and whether or not that has any connection to the Navigator.
Right.
Not formally. I do know that one of the activities in the Navigator menu is to visit classes and to visit a program of liberal studies class or PLS class, or visit other course categories in our academic menu, as it were. So, you know, we have of course, the first year intensives, which all of you will be taking. We have the senior capstones. Now, that's a bit far down the road for you, but if you're curious about what happens at the very other end of your trajectory, or you end up having a friend who is a graduating senior and want to see what the seniors are doing in a senior capstone, you can go visit one of those. And a wide array and offerings in the PLS program, so the program of liberal studies, there's so many different types of courses that are offered there, and you're all invited to visit any one of those that you're interested in. So that's where the link is, though right now it's informal in the sense that it's part of a list of activities you can choose from.
Excellent, thank you. If you have to miss one of your Navigator group meetings, how will that be handled?
So if a student needs to miss one of the sessions, that student should be in contact with the peer mentor, and they will, the peer mentor will assist the student about any, you know, inform the student about any important topics that the student may have missed in the session. You know, if it, there are some sessions in the Navigator meetings that are just going to be, not just going to be, these are very important sessions, sessions where students share what they did off the menu of activities. So if that is one of the sessions that the student needs to miss, the peer mentor will debrief one-on-one with the student rather than in a large dialogue group. So there are ways, because we know it's going to happen. We know, if Clark students are so interested in so many things that there's going to invariably be a time where a student needs to miss something because one of their class sessions, there's going to be a situation like that. So we've planned, but it's largely going to be the student's responsibility to be in touch with the peer mentor.
Excellent. Can you provide any additional email or information about the specific curriculum that's part of the group meetings with the Navigator course? And related, same person's asking, the kind of feedback that students that have done their pre-Navigator program in the last 2 years, what kind of feedback did they have about their experience?
I can speak to the first part of the question, the specifics about the curriculum. Some of the details are still being ironed out, but some of the sessions are going to be on topics ranging from, one of the very first sessions, for example, is going to be a panel of peer mentors sharing what I wish I had known when I was in my very first semester at Clark University. There are going to be sessions, Betsy talked about one of the activities being students visiting a professor's office hours. One of the Navigator sessions is going to be how to use your professors and why you should start establishing relationships with your professors, visiting them during office hours, how to reach out via email to a professor. There are going to be sessions that are a bit more difficult dialogue kinds of conversations where students are going to be having conversations about dialogue across racial differences and or political differences. So we, basic questions like, Betsy talked earlier about students having a lot of questions that they're afraid to ask because, they feel like they should know these things, but a lot of our students have questions, things like how to use my swap on the meal plan. So a lot of the sessions are going to be things like that. And then again, debriefs about what students have done for activities.
Excellent. And can any of you talk about, I know the Navigator in its current existence will be new this year, but based on the 2 previous years when we had the early steps of this program, do you get any feedback from students that participated, and what was their feedback?
I'm happy to talk a little bit about that. So yes, we got lots of feedback in the past 2 years from students who participated, and we have very much taken that feedback to heart. So in the first year, it was very much a pilot, so not 100% of the first year class participated. And something from that we heard loud and clear was, everybody needs to do this. It can't just be, which it's the nature of a pilot, that you don't have everybody do it when it's new. But that was something that became very clear, was that, the next time we did this, we wanted to make sure everybody was involved. Something that we heard from a lot of students last year was wanting to have more small group meetings with their peer mentors, that really stood out above and beyond as the most valuable piece of this program. And so whereas previously we were having fewer small group check-ins and more larger workshop type sessions, we've moved far into the other direction to now really focus on building those cohort relationships and allowing you all as students to really connect with your mentors and use that valuable time together to your benefit. So that's something that we're very excited about. And then, we got just general topics or general points of feedback about some of the topics that we covered in previous renditions, that they said, this was helpful, this wasn't, and that helped us shape the curriculum a lot for this coming year, where, some things really, really landed and they were like, wow, you know, we should definitely talk about this again, or I want a part 2 of this session, or that sort of thing. And others that they were like, we learned about this in orientation, we don't need to go over it again. So we, you know, are able to make those changes thanks to that important feedback. So we definitely appreciate everything that we heard from the survey we conducted with our first years last year.
Excellent, thank you. Next question is about the amount of credit that this is getting. So this is getting 0.25 credits. Are there other courses that are less than 1 unit that students could take to like make up a full credit at some point?
Yeah, I mean, yes, there are. Clark does offer half-unit courses. We anticipate that by and large students are going to be graduating with 32.25 units of credit. But sometimes students will opt to take courses in the summer, for example, at another university. And sometimes those courses transfer in as 0.75 units. So the 0.25 will nicely round that out. So there certainly are courses offered at Clark that are offered for less than a unit, but again, we anticipate a lot of students will be graduating with 32.25.
Okay. Besides the Navigator 100 course, are there any specific courses required of the first year class?
Should I take that?
Sure.
Go ahead.
Okay. That would be the first year intensive seminar. And it is the one course category that all incoming first years are required to take. Although we'd hate to put the word required on there because it really is one of those course experiences that is an embodiment of the type of education and educational model that that we feel speaks, you know, thoroughly Clark, right? Small cohort, just like the Navigator. These courses, these seminars are capped at anywhere between 16 to 20 at the max. And you establish bonds with the classmates in this particular course, and also with the faculty member, the instructor, because the instructor will also serve as your faculty advisor. I can say that I'll add a bit of detail to the history of the Navigator. The Navigator, or First Year Experience Program, by the way, this really is the very first year we're calling the program Navigator. We've named it, given it a name that speaks to the purpose and aims of it, because it really is quite literally to help you navigate the new terrain that's going to become your next 4 years. But in the past 2 years, the First Year Experience Program was linked to the First Year Intensive course category. So the FYI, FYE was a dyad that functioned together. What we discovered was that even though conceptually it was very interesting and made quite a lot of sense to link those two programs together, it ended up actually hamstringing the First Year Experience Program. Because it was linked to the First Year Intensive seminar, we couldn't expand out the Navigator and do more with it. Students wanted in the First Year Experience Program to have choice. They wanted to be able to choose from a large menu of activities. They also wanted, as Sherilyn shared earlier, to have that sort of small cohort experience. But maybe they can have a separate cohort. They don't need to have the same exact cohort as the one that they have in their First Year Intensive. It actually makes sense to group students together in different ways and with different people as much as possible, so that, you know, you're not necessarily looking to hold on to the same group of people, you know, too tightly, and to sort of expand your wings a little bit and meet a lot more people through the different cohorting that we are putting into place.
Excellent. Well, we've reached the end of our questions, so thank you, Betsy, Jen, and Sherilyn, for all of your thoughtful answers and information you provided tonight. Thank you to the participants for logging in and watching us. This webinar has been recorded, so we will post it if you want to go back and rewatch and listen to it. We still have a lot more webinars coming up this week, so you can go to the webinar website and check out the options. We have a faculty panel tomorrow with STEM faculty. We have a session on Thursday about all of different research, internship, and study abroad programs. We have Model UN, which is a completely student-run panel on Friday. And then we also have a program about the accelerated degree, master's degree program on Friday evening. So lots more options to choose from. We hope you'll log in. As always, you can contact us at admissions@clarku.edu if you have any questions. We are here and happy to help. And we wish you all the best as you continue your journey. Thanks again, Cheryl and Jen and Betsy. Have a great day, everyone.